reality bites. So I'm at that age where, you gotta realize that you're not invincible. My goodness, when you were young, you run into a brick wall and somehow become stronger. You know, now I avoid brick walls at all costs. You know what I mean? Like you're walking on the sidewalk and they say, hey, don't step on that crack or you'll break someone's back, which never made any sense. You're jumping on that crack all day. What the back they were concerned about was yours. That's a tripping hazard. Now everything is like a warning sign, like, hey, watch out for that because now you could sneeze. That's how I thought. I knew it was going to be something simple that took me out. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a brick wall, but I thought I knew that it was going to be something simple. I always thought it was going to be like one of those sneezes, like one of those like whoa chews. Like you ever sneeze so hard your whole body tenses up, like you're having a near death experience. Like to the point where, because somebody always says, some sort of salutations or bless you to the sneeze, and if you have an eruption out of your nostrils, um, a thunderous boom, somebody's going to say something. Usually it's probably going to be a passive aggressive because it's your sneeze is going to shock. What the is going on? What, a bomb just dropped? So you really got to be careful where those land, but you can't. I mean, the warning signs are you turn into a werewolf. But, those sneezes will rock the joint. And I really thought one of them would just rip out my spine and have it flailing on the ground. Or maybe I'd hunch over and then I would just freeze. You ever see someone like reach down for something? Like now I realize if I want to reach down and grab something, I need to stretch and then maybe even take a nap just to be on the safe side because that was always like you see people like reach out and grab and then they just frozen, like the whole body just decides like, hey, you can't do this anymore so easily. So now because you thought you could override your system with the old ticker, we're just gonna give up and freeze you in this position and you can't do anything or it's excruciating pain. None of those things got me. Actually, the thing that I thought might have helped one of those things got me square in the shoulder. Apparently, I woke up from slumber, folks. Slumber, deep rest, I might add. Apparently, not very restful. I either got hit by a car or beaten up by a brick. I'm telling you right now, I woke up, inhaled oxygen. That was it. Those were my two activities: waking up and then breathing oxygen. And then all of a sudden, a pain from my shoulder erupted like a bear was trying to claw its way out of there. It was such searing pain. I questioned all of reality. I thought I was having one of those body switching moments where I woke up and it wasn't me anymore because I thought what happened? All I did was wake up and breathe in oxygen, like two things you need to do, right? Sleep and breathe. I did those two things, and then somehow doing a combination of those two things and broke my shoulder. I tried to do everything I thought. Like at first I was like questioning reality. I said, there's no way me breathing hurts some singular part of my body, like way over. There's no way. So first I tried like stretching because I thought maybe I pulled something. And the pain that I felt, I might as well ripped it out of its whole socket. Like I started, I started stretching. I thought, okay, maybe it's just me, right? My body. I would start moving around. Fine. Not a single. I thought, well, I'm good. And I tried to take another breath because, necessity in this world. And then I almost fell down. I was like, what the is happening to me? And I didn't want to, bring this up to anybody else in the house because I thought maybe they could have been the culprit. Like then, because I thought, well, it's not my body. Apparently, I don't want oxygen, or my shoulder doesn't want the old H2O coming in. O2, one of the two. And so I'm worried about breathing. You ever try not breathing or breathing less because breathing affects or causes you serious pain? And so I, didn't want to place any blame because maybe, I didn't like complete a chore list or something around the house and my lady beat me. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, honey. I'm probably going to get beaten for that. You can't go around saying things like that. But I was just breathing and it hurt. I did not accept that reality for 3 whole days. This went on. And every day I was like, all right, well, I got to breathe. So hopefully it's just has gone away in the, nanosecond I've taken until I need to take another breath. The only other time I've seen somebody question reality to that state is I was canoeing down the Colorado River. Now, granted, the outdoors, it does not care whether you're on a trip or whatever. It just is, okay? So you can't really ask a whole lot out of it. And I wasn't. At that time, I was invincible, okay? I got dehydrated so badly, we had to build a sailboat out of a canoe because I could no longer paddle. Because I just thought, who needs water when you're surrounded by the outdoors and direct sunlight to the head? And I thought, oh, I'm in a boat on the water, and then, sun, reflection, mere destruction, the things that you really don't think about. And so we're on the Colorado River, and I don't know what happened, but Mother Nature decided these guys need a wild ride. It was the last day of the trip. We had gone through everything, every scoot, toot, and boogie that we did not expect to occur. I really realized that towards the end of this trip, how selling the outdoors can be difficult. We started getting these swells that were like 10 feet high. They were crazy. The canoe was like on the open sea and we were on a river. I don't know what was going on, but all of a sudden we went from being on the last day to adding a day. Because we turned off and stopped off at a place that was abandoned. And I mean so abandoned that you question or not whether it exists. Because you get up there and there was a cooler from like the 70s. You say a time that like people are like, whoa, what did people even do back then? Nobody had touched this place. And there was this guy that was so upset that we had to stop and sleep on this bluff. I mean, the wind was blowing 80. I mean, it was no better than the conditions of the water. But this guy did not want to accept it, so much so that he just sat in the canoe while the canoe was just getting barraged with just wave after wave, just crashing up against now this little bluff that we had, this rocky bluff that we were on. And this guy was just sitting there cross-armed, just not accepting any. He was probably more uncomfortable than any one of us, but he was just sitting there going, I don't care if it takes me. I'm going to sit here until it goes away, or I do. I once built this fire, and it was a solid fire, okay, with wood, like real wood, not one of them switches. A lot of people now, especially I have a gas fire. You just flip a switch anytime you want some heat. Sometimes you gotta wait for it to heat up, but that's the worst thing you gotta do. I once built a wood fire. Right, I wanted to show my lady that I was impressive and I could build a fire. I built this fire, and then immediately I don't know if she was unimpressed or just wanted to leave the house. Probably just wanted to leave the house. But it was immediately, I was like, hey, I make fire. And then she goes, I want to leave. And I was like, well, you can't. I just built a fire. Do you know how fire works? You can't just leave fire. She got so upset. Rightfully so. And within 10 seconds, I saw this fire go from a solid fire to absolutely nothing. I didn't put water on it. We were inside. I couldn't it was in a chimney, but you can't just like throw water. Like it just disappeared. That's when I realized don't question any of that. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about like, well, that I know like sleeping outside is a real hard sell, but like sitting in that canoe couldn't have been like any better, right? Like, well, first, you gotta worry about wildlife. Don't ever try and sell somebody who's not keen on the outdoors with the creatures that inhabit the outdoors. That's why a lot of people live indoors, because you gotta worry first about the big ones, right? Like when I was young, they'd tell us how to fend off a bear. I don't really know. Looking back and having a little 1-2 thought process, let's run it through. But you were supposed to gather together, right? So almost like, put all the food, all the fixins on the plate for the bear, and then sing. And not just like sing, but sing horribly, which wasn't going to be a problem for anybody. It's not like we were walking around with like, some professional singer over there. We were not. So why they had to add in the, hey, like, don't sing well, okay? Like, if you sing well, the bear's going to do a dance and then just eat us. Like, but if you sing horribly, the bear is gonna, well, turn the other way because it just can't handle, out of tune singing by a group of things that it looks at as pure food. Imagine if like the salmon were singing as it was like swimming down, like, ah, look at me, what a beautiful day. And then the bear would be like, yes, for me, because now you're just making it known where you're at. The logic really didn't follow through. Then you have smaller creatures, vermin, as some of the people like to call them, and they will get into anything. Their solution for this: tie all your food, I mean even trash. Like if you have a Snickers wrapper somewhere hidden in a thing, you are gonna be sleeping with a raccoon. I promise you that. He ain't friendly. Okay? This ain't gonna be a nice raccoon. He's gonna come in there and destroy everything because he's looking for that Snickers. It's the only thing that'll satisfy him. So you gotta tie all this stuff in like a Teflon bag, right? And then hoist it up into a tree. That's right. Yeah, hoist it up. And remember when you were young and you were worried about kids like throwing your shoes up into the power lines, and then you ain't getting those shoes back. Uh, that's what you gotta do with this bag. You gotta throw it up into the sky and hope that you could get it back down. That way nobody could get to it or like fly off with it. These woodland creatures really can cause a danger. Then you gotta worry about the microscopics, the creepy crawlies. And I'm not talking about them gummy worms. I don't know what we thought was the thought process on turning things like bugs into like gummy snacks. Oh, we'll just throw a little powdered sugar on there and call it a day. Delicious. No, you don't want to be sleeping with these things. All those things definitely want to get inside your house, okay? And that's always the main thing that indoor people say about the creepy crawlies is if the outdoors is so great, why are they always trying to get into my house? Like I got a call the other night from my lady. We had a moth in here. And the way that she called me, you might as well thought Mothra was attacking her. I mean, and coming from all sides, there was no way of escape. I was like, get under the covers. And she's like, I won't be able to breathe. I'm like, how tightly are you getting under these covers to where you won't have oxygen? I mean, I was like, okay, well then just leave a little air open. She goes, oh, it'll crawl into my mouth, lay eggs, and then I'll become a moth. I'm like, what kind of thought process is this moth having? It doesn't understand that it's inside. It's probably trying to get outside, which is why it's always trying to follow the light. I was like, turn on the light in the living room. Maybe it'll fly out there, right? Because you don't want to lock it in with yourself, apparently. So do that. And she goes, if this moth intends to spend the night, it better be paying rent. And I go, that's great. I wish it would, but it's not going, it doesn't, what? So those creepy crawlies, and then the sleeping arrangements. I know. One, try selling sleeping in a bag or a coffin. You can't get out of that thing. The zipper on a sleeping bag only works if you're outside of the sleeping bag. Once you get in, whatever zipper position you put that zipper in, good luck. You ever try turning that thing into a blanket, right? I hope you enjoy it. And I hope it's not cold, because a sleeping bag that's a blanket does not have the same effect as the sleeping bag. There's a reason it's a bag, folks. And you're crawling there, and that way people can just drag you out into the night. And then you talk about like what you're sleeping in, like, most people house, apartment, some sort of box structure. But what they were looking at is like a bag with some like wire. And I'm telling you, the wire is attached with some string. And if you pull on that string too much, you ain't getting that tent together, because that thing is broken. And then you only get a certain amount of pulls. And what if you connect them poorly? I tell you what, that structure, it doesn't need wind, breeze, or anything to fall down. It'll just go. It'll just fly away. It'll spread wings and just take off into the night, because that thing is flimsier than flimsy. I had a one-man tent one time. I could not figure it out. I was on a backpacking trip, and two people put their tent together, and they're like, done. We're getting drinks. And I looked at my tent and I thought, what kind of alien contraption? The poles weren't even poles. They like turned into some circular tubes. It turned out that that's what I was building, like just a bigger bag. Yeah, it turned out that the one-man tent just was just a bigger bag that you could really just zip up, and man, a bear could just throw that on his back like a knapsack and carry me out and that's it. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because what else are you going to do? I'm all wrapped up. And then you really have to worry about the ground, right? You're supposed to sweep the area, get it all clear, make a little clearing. And it doesn't matter if you find grass, sand, water. It doesn't matter what you put that tent on, you will lay down on a rock, right? And you'll think it's a small rock, right? And it'll just hit you right in that spot to make it uncomfortable. You'll try to move around it. It'll move with you somehow. It doesn't matter where you go in this, bag, wire contraption tent. You're not escaping that rock. You'll get to the point where you will get up, unstake your tent, move it, try and do the clearing again, get on your hands and knees and scrub the floor looking for this rock that is somehow the size of a pebble, but also when you lay on it is like a boulder, and you become like an onion, and there's nothing you can do. It will become your best friend, because unless you plan on digging into the earth, you ain't getting it out, and it is following you around. You can move the tent, that rock's coming with you. So, you ever want to spend a few days outside? For me, it's telling my lady. I've always now I'm at that point where I've idolized the outdoors because it's been so long. So I'm always like, it would be nice to go outside. And she never skips a beat. Go. There ain't nobody stopping you here. I'm not going with you, but you're more than welcome to leave. In fact, you should leave. Go outside. I don't want to go outside. There are bugs and creepy crawlies. Well, and with that, I'm probably headed outside. So I'll catch you guys on the next time. Until next time, bye-bye.